All right, I think I'm live now. Let's see. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's great to see you all here. My name is Andrew Folkler. In just a few moments, I'll get started, but I want to give everyone just a minute or two just to join in, so that way they'll be able to tune into this Facebook Live. I'm also going to keep the chat open in another window, so feel free to what you call it, leave me any comments or questions in the comment section as well. I do slowly see some people streaming in. Welcome, welcome. It's great to see you here. I'm excited to. I got a really good topic for you guys today. I'm sure you've seen the title already. It's basically some techniques that I learned from a former hostage negotiator, from a guy who was in the FBI. It's really cool stuff. I'm really excited to share it with you guys today. Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm going to give it maybe one more minute, and then what I'll do is I will get started and just start sharing my presentation. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out in the comment section. Alrighty. Okay, so quick introduction. My name is Andrew Folkler. I was alienated from my mother from, I think I was around 5 years old at the time. And I reunited with her when I turned right about 18. So it was about 12 and a half, almost 13 years of alienation. And there's a lot of factors that went into play that helped me reunite with her. And since I've been reunited, I try and help parents out by offering them tips and action items, things that will help them reconnect. So today, the big topic for this Facebook Live will be two techniques that I've learned that are absolutely powerful in your communication. And these techniques were taught by a former FBI hostage negotiator. It's actually from his book, Never Split the Difference. You can find this book pretty much in any online store or Amazon. You can find it at a Barnes and Noble or any other bookstore. It's a really popular book. Highly recommend it if you can, if you want to get it, if you want to snag it and read it. There's a lot more powerful techniques in that book that I'm not going to have a chance to share today. But for extra reading, if you find that exciting and helpful, then I definitely recommend it. So before I jump into what those techniques are, I want to go over why it's important, because I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of parents have is there's that communication barrier between them and their child. And more often than not, the way we communicate, the way we approach the things that we say can influence the way people respond to us. And it's even harder when your child is hostile against you. So I guess one thing I want to preface real quick, but before I get deeper, is this Facebook Live is not about how to manipulate someone. It's not about how to get into somebody's head or anything like that. It's none of that. Rather, what these techniques are teaching you is how do you get more out of your communication, and how do you de-escalate conflict at the same time. And in order to just de-escalate conflict, you need to make sure that you're actively building trust and rapport. And so how do you do that? And you you have to show that other person that you really understand exactly what they're feeling and that you're meeting them at their emotional level. And that can be hard when especially when your child is angry, they're saying things that are really hurtful towards you, and that can be deeply triggering towards you. Um, but at the same time, you have to make sure you maintain that level of emotional stability and you're approaching them with unconditional positive regard and letting them know that you understand what they're experiencing. And in that might seem really daunting at first. The thing is, with these techniques, what it'll do is it empowers you to get more information out of them, try and understand what they're experiencing, what they're thinking, things like that. And then you will have that confidence to be able to say, hey, I can I'm starting to understand what you're going through and I'm here to help you. Okay. Uh, I'm going to share a how I've used these techniques really quick as well, just because I want to really hammer in how beneficial they can be. Um, I used to work as a manager in retail, and almost every week I had to deal with angry customers. And my team members would send the angry people to me, and they would yell and they'd complain about how the product would not have the effect that they wanted. And I would look at their pictures that they're showing me, and even if it was their fault, I was still able to bring down their anger levels, their emotional energy. I'd bring it down because I didn't fight fire with fire. I fight fire with water. And so when you're dealing with conflict, you got to get to the heart of the pain that a person is experiencing. You get really curious, channel your curiosity, explore those emotions that they're experiencing, and you show them that their emotions are valid. So angry customers like, Andrew, all of these things went wrong and I'm really mad. I spent all this money and things didn't go the way I wanted. And I can come up to them and say, you know what? Yeah, that sounds really ridiculous. Let me help you get that fixed. And you would and their emotional intensity would drop dramatically. They realize, hey, I'm actually on their side, and they will be a lot easier to manage moving forward. So that's just the theory. Okay, I know it's hard to believe until you really see it in practice. So I'm going to just jump straight into the heart of it because I don't want to spend too much time on theory. The two techniques I'm here to teach you are called labels and mirrors. Okay, we're going to start with labels first because that one's a little bit more complicated. Labels are an inference that begins with the phrase "it seems like," "it sounds like," or "it looks like." So an inference is where you're trying to understand what's the driving force, what's the driving mechanism behind what somebody says to you. You can do it with just a declarative statement. So for example, if I were to say something very, very generic, like, hey, when I was a kid, I used to go to wrestling tournaments every weekend. You can look at that statement and look for the driving force of it. And you build a label around it. So an example label could be, it sounds like wrestling was a core part of your childhood. And what you're doing is you are taking that inference, you're presenting it to the person, and you're inviting them to explain more. You're inviting them to elaborate more. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, why is that important? How can that help me with my alienated child? And the thing is, your alienated child is going to be one of two things. They're going to be either avoidant or they're going to be hostile, right? Avoidant is a very passive, low energy. I don't want to deal with you. I want to avoid dealing with things. I want to dissociate. Or they're going to be hostile. They're going to try and scare you away. They're going to be yelling at you. They're going to say things that they're going to dig up the past or maybe say things or accuse you of things that are not true. And they're going to try and scare you away. One of those two things. And so when you take what they say, whether, like if they say something like, I hate you, I don't want to ever talk to you again, you label that, and it invites them to explain what they're feeling. So, I hate you. I don't want to ever talk to you again. It's like, hey, it sounds like you're really upset. And then that will pretty much open up the floor for them to be like, yeah, I am upset. I'm upset about da 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 da. And then you can start exploring that. And with labeling, you don't just do it one time and then that's it, right? And what you do is you build a conversation where every time they say something, you put another label just to try and figure out what is the next level, what's the deeper level that they're experiencing, that they're holding in, that they're not sharing with you. Because when they're not sharing anything with you, what ends up happening is you're stuck. You're operating on a lack of information. So with all of that said, you keep digging deeper and digging deeper, digging deeper with label each time. So let's use my example of wrestling, just so that way you can better visualize it. If I say to you, when I was a kid, I used to go to wrestling tournaments every weekend. You might respond with a label that says, well, sounds like wrestling was a core part of your childhood. Now, I might look at that and I might respond, yeah, as a kid, it was a place for me to stay fit and healthy. And more importantly, I learned a lot of life lessons from my coaches. And again, you draw an inference from it. What's the driving force from that last statement? And you turn it into a label. So, for example, that label can be, okay, it sounds like your wrestling coaches really helped shape who you are today. And what it does is it puts you, when you use labels like this, it puts you in the driver's seat because you are the one steering the conversation. Because you're the one asking the questions, you're basically directing the conversation in a way that is conducive for you, but it also shows the person that you're communicating with that you're trying to understand what they're experiencing. Okay, so that's what labels are. And now I want to dig into what mirrors are. A mirror is where you repeat 1 to 3 words of what someone says in the form of a question. So this can be, again, a handy way of getting someone to explain something further without explicitly saying, can you explain that in depth, or can you dig into that? Instead, you say 1 to 3 words in the form of a question. So let's use my example from earlier. When I was a kid, I used to go to wrestling tournaments every weekend. So a good mirror might be something like tournaments every weekend. So like just like that. And then, you can invite someone to elaborate. So I might respond, well, yeah, I was part of a club that was part of My Way, which is the Michigan Youth Wrestling Association. My Way focuses on collegiate style wrestling, and I also did freestyle in the spring. So what would be a possible mirror to that? Let me hop in the comment section just to see if anybody's got any comments. I'm trying to see if there's any comments here. I don't see any comments, but that's okay. A good possible mirror to that, if somebody were to ask, so if I were to talk about those different styles of wrestling, you might say, freestyle wrestling, and that turns into another question, so to speak. And what you're doing is you're opening the doors to communication. So I want to stress with labels and mirrors, it doesn't guarantee a child's going to respond. What it does is it increases your chances of getting a response while steering the conversation, because I think that's one of the hard things that happens in alienation cases, especially when in both cases of like avoidant and dissociative behavior and hostile aggressive behavior. Whichever route your child takes, it can be incredibly frustrating because you feel like things are just out of your control. And which is why I think these two techniques are really powerful, because it allows you to get more information out of your kid. My advice would be to start practicing these two techniques in very low stakes situations. Practice them with a partner, practice them with a friend. Talk about something simple like a passion or something that excites them. And then you use labels and mirrors to try and pull more information out of them. And you're going to notice when you have that kind of conversation where you're using labels and mirrors, you are basically saying almost nothing. No, so if your kid is saying things like, why did you do this during the divorce? They're trying to get inserted into a place where they can judge you for actions you have taken. You use labels or mirrors to effectively avoid answering those questions because you don't want to be playing defensive. You don't want your kid to be the judge and jury of who you are and the decisions that you made. So in that case, you're using labels and mirrors to try and figure out what's got them worked up, what's got them frustrated with you. Because chances are they just have this, patchy idea of something that might have happened during the divorce or something that maybe is not even true. And they're accusing you of something and they want you to take blame for something that's hurting them. That hurt could be anything from, feeling abandoned, feeling alone, feeling uncared for, unloved, feeling mistreated, whatever that might be. Your goal is to dig into where that pain is. And once you are able to get deeper into once you're able to clarify that pain, that's when you're going to have the ability to step in as a parent and support them in the best way that they need, whatever emotional support that might be. So that's that's the real power that comes from labels and mirrors. And again, I think it's really beneficial to practice it because this is a muscle, and this muscle is not going to be helpful to you unless you practice it with other people, and you can use it in other aspects of your life as well. So you don't need to strictly do it with your child. You can do it at work. You can do it at with your partner, with family. You can do it with just general conversations with the neighbors. And I think that what what will happen over time is you're not going to even notice it. You're just going to label or mirror something in a way that is intuitive. And once you're at that level, that's where the real power comes in. Because then when you walk in, you're talking to your child, you can automatically just instinctively label or mirror what they're saying back to you. So with all of that said, I would like to very quickly, I'm just going to share a YouTube video. This is from the same people that wrote this book, Never Split the Difference. This is a video I watch probably once or twice a year. It's just that good. It's a live demonstration, or I guess it's a video demonstration, I should say, of labels and mirrors, and you really get to see it in action. And I really like it because that's uh, a great way to how would you say it? You can see people who are trying to learn it as well, and then you can kind of see what would be the best way for you to uh, to build that as your art as your skill set. I'm a firm believer that one of the best ways to approach alienation is to add tools to your toolbox. And so that way you will have the ability or the capacity, I should say, to adequately handle the many challenges that comes with alienation. And this is only one tool out of many tools that you will need in your journey. And I know that's not the most how would you say, it's not the most uplifting thing to hear. Um, it can be incredibly challenging considering that, you wish there was just like one thing you needed to do and then bam, everything's done. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I have found in my communication that this has helped me a lot. I found when I was dealing with alienation within my own family, I was alienated from my brother for a time, that this book helped me a lot. And I really uh, really hope that you'll find this helpful in all aspects of your life, even beyond alienation. Um, so once again, uh, I if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I do see some comments here. Suzanne, it's great to see you here. Regina, great to have you here with us as well. Um, I should also mention before, because we're getting close to 7:30, and at 7:30, I'm going to have to hop off of this Facebook Live so I can host a coaching call for Ginger Gentile's Reconnection program. So you will notice in the comment section, pinned to the top, there is an invitation to join Ginger's Reconnection program. It can be really helpful to have a coach to support you along the way. And of course, all of these things are made possible by through Ginger's program. I'm a big supporter of Ginger. Ever since your racing family, I've known her for years. So I'm always happy to support her and to support all the work that she's doing. Regina, I notice you are asking for the book title. I'm going to type that in there for you. Let's see. The title is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. So there we go. If you we do have some time left, so if you would like to ask any questions, I do see the comment section. I'm just following everything to see if make sure I'm not missing anybody. Always happy to help out. Do you have a suggestion to question my daughter, 23, never answer, alienated from father? Okay. So one of the things that I think is really challenging is once a child's reached that age where they're trying to figure out their own life. So it sounds like, 23-year-old daughter, she's trying to figure out her own life. She wants to be an adult and she's trying to put the past behind her, right? That's just trying to frame what she's experiencing. Depending on how much you know about her, and when I say that, know about her at the age of 23, not when the alienation started or anything like that, because she's not going to be the same little girl that she was maybe when she was alienated. Depending on how much you know about her, I would look for opportunities to ask questions. Little small things like I always tell parents, don't ask to reconnect, do things that reconnected parents would do. So in that case, when you're dealing with people who are ghosting you, you take those little things that they're interested in and you try and open up a question with that. So I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe, for example, she's probably focused on college or something like that. I'd look for opportunities to ask questions related to her higher education, see if there's anything that she needs help with or anything like that. If that doesn't work, you can also try uh, lower stakes questions or lower stakes interactions. The way I put it is like you could probably send a meme, for example. You send a meme to her, hey, thought this was funny, thought you might like it, and that's it. If if your child doesn't respond to you sending a meme, that's not the end of the world, right? It's just a meme, right? But if you do that enough times, you're building up this how would you say it? You're building up a pattern of like, hey, I thought of you and I wanted to send you something. It's like a little gift that you're sending, right? Um, and what it's going to do is you need to build up a pattern of these small yeses, these small micro interactions, and that will slowly work its way up towards an actual interaction, if that makes sense. Okay. Kevin Johnson, I reconnected with my 23-year-old after 10 years, had two really great conversations, then he ghosted me. Any suggestions? Kevin is probably going to be very similar to Regina. Depending on what kind of hold the alienating parent has on your son, the big challenge that you're going to have is sometimes at that age, you're just getting started with life, you're just trying to get into college or university, there might still be a financial uh, grip on him from the alienator. It's hard to say. It depends on really how independent they are. So there's so much information that you don't have that you don't know. Is he ghosting you because he's uncomfortable? Is he ghosting you because someone told him to? Is he ghosting you because he has to play it safe for a little while until he can talk to you again? There's all these variables that we don't know, right? And so I think the most dangerous thing to do is to assume it's because of you. That hurts you, that hurts your emotional state, and it brings you down. We don't want to do that. So what we can safely say is it's not safe enough for him to talk to you right now. Why? We don't know. And but what you can do, like I was saying to Regina earlier, these small micro interactions, make it as small as possible. Hey, saw this, thought you might like it, wanted to share it with you. As long as you are not blocked, they're going to see it. You know, most people who are at that age, early 20s, they're trying to get their life together. They're trying to figure out what they want to do and who they're going to be. Because you don't really know who you are at 20, right? You think you do, but you don't really do. I'm almost 30, and sometimes I wonder if I really know who I am. So it's an iterative process. Um, but with that said, depending on what his interests are, maybe I used to say like Marvel movies, for example, back when the superhero craze was a big thing. Maybe if your kid liked superhero movies, like, hey, I was thinking about watching this movie. Have you seen it? What do you think about it? If your kid doesn't respond about the latest Superman movie or whatever, nobody's gonna care, right? It's just a small innocuous question to invite conversation. And what you do is you just keep coming with those. You just keep brainstorming with those different little ideas and you invite them to conversation. And again, labels and mirrors can help you as well to prolong the conversation. So that way, if they do respond to your small micro interaction, you can say, you can use a label or a mirror to see if you can figure out what's going on. So, because what if they text back, like, hey, I'm really busy right now, can't talk. And you could be like, oh, well, sounds like you got a lot on your plate. Is there anything I can help with? And then that's a label. That's a way to invite conversation. I really hope this helps. Again, I'm going to just quickly wrap up that all of this is made possible through Ginger's program. If you register today, you can join in the coaching call I'm about to do in about 30 seconds. And as always, guys, I'm always happy to help out as much as I can. Um, I know it's really hard going through this process, and I hope that with small things like this, like I can at least give you the tools in your toolbox to better reconnect with your kids. So thank you for having me, and you can always reach out if you have any questions. Always reach out to Ginger as well. So with that, I'm gonna conclude this live. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your evening.